Well, I want to go over something that's not well known. And, you hear about a lot of different healthy things to take, but this is a secret that the Siberians have. And you've probably heard that the Siberians live to be quite a long time. It's sort of a Russian secret, too. And, well, first we'll get on to how it's known in the Asian world, basically, or the Siberian and Japanese and Korean. Actually, the Koreans use this a lot, too. I kind of left this out, but the Siberians call it the gift from God, the mushroom of immortality. But it's kind of like not like a mushroom in a typical sense. It almost looks like tree bark. It's very, very tough. It's very nutrient concentrated too. It's supported health for thousands of years, and actually, it's one of the main things that Siberians take it every day, and it has a lot to do with their longevity. Not only, you heard of Siberian ginseng? Well, it's not that. It's something else completely different. The Japanese call it the diamond of the forest. The Koreans also use it all the time, and the Chinese say it's the king of plants. Now, that's pretty important also when you also say the Chinese call it the king of plants, because you look at how many plants there are in China that they use for all types of health and medicinal purposes. So when they're calling it the king of plants, that's a pretty lofty title when you have to figure it out. But now this is what it looks like. It's a mushroom, but it's not soft. It's actually a type. It's almost like the consistency of a tree bark. And what they do is they make teas out of it. They absorb it. It's in water. Let me just go over real quickly. Actually, this is the actual scientific name for it. But they call it the Chaga mushroom. Basically, it's a Latinization of the word of the Russian term Tara or something. I guess you can't really say that in English exactly. It wouldn't translate to any types of English sounds, but we just call it Chaga mushroom in English. It's a Latinization. But basically, it's a type of fungus or a mushroom, basically. It's a Chaga mushroom is considered a medicinal mushroom in Russian and Eastern European folk medicine, and research on its medicinal potential is ongoing. But there's a hell of a lot of research that's actually been done. But the Siberians can tell you this really has a lot to do with their longevity, and we can give you a little more proof on that. Anyway, what it looks like is this, and it doesn't look exactly like a typical mushroom. It's kind of like a tree bark. It survives in harsh climates, and it has a lot of. It gets a lot of natural compounds for its protection, and that's what makes it very powerful. So it includes a lot of different types of enzymes, and actually researchers have inoculated sick trees with Chaga to strengthen them. Even the trees themselves have been benefited from injections of this type of mushroom when it's put in water. So now it's also been known with a lot of longevity. Now you can see here, this is like a typical Siberian pastime, getting in the cold water and braving the cold elements, and for your good health and everything. But it's not just all in Siberia. This is actually grown in Maine, USA. So if you don't want to get the Siberian version of it, I'm not selling it. I'm not a salesman for this. I'm not going to show you a link. But you can go look up the Chaga version of it that's sold from Maine, USA. And actually, it's supposed to be even better than what comes from Siberia. So it's not that cheap of an herb to get, but it's probably well worth it. And a little bit goes a very, very, very long way. So this actually... because of the special biological substances that's in it, some of the trees live as long as 10,000 years or more. So what happens is when you're concentrating all this in a type of fungus, it becomes a source of many, many different nutrients. And one of them is like pantothenic acid. Pantothenic is actually called vitamin B5. But you have to remember, when you actually get the synthetic versions of vitamins, you don't actually get the exact same thing that comes from nature in some ways, because a lot of things are left out. I think they don't know everything that's actually in the plant itself. It's better to get it from the plant itself. Now, pantothenic acid is actually known as, it comes from the Greek word everywhere, so it's kind of like everywhere. But the thing is, it's not, nowhere near is the concentration as high as in chaga. So there's also a chromogenic complex. It's also protective of all tissues, and it's only found in chaga, period. Actually, the cream base for the chromogenic complex that is in chaga is extremely protective of the skin. So this really has a lot to do with the Siberian longevity. What is also very interesting too, it contains the most important ingredient, which is for antioxidants, which is known as superoxide dismutase, which is SOD. Just remember SOD, S-O-D. It's actually something that is considered the most powerful antioxidant on Earth, and it's it's been known as something as anti-aging. But the thing is, it's far more bioavailable in chaga than it is in when you get in the sod supplements, which are fairly expensive in themselves. So chaga contains a lot of sod, but it's actually highly more bioavailable. But they've also found that it also alleviates a lot of the oxidation and damaging of the tissues that results from stress. So many times they believe that stress is one of the causative factors of many diseases. In some of the best chaga, there's 10,000 to 20,000 active sod units per gram. Actually, that's even more than what you find in the typical sod pill. And like I said, it's definitely one of the most powerful anti-aging antioxidants going. So but the thing is, when it's in the pill form, it's virtually impossible to absorb. When it's in the plant form, it's very easily bioavailable. So the Siberians drink this daily, and that is really what's attributing to their long life. I'm showing young people here, but sometimes it doesn't register with people when I show, a healthy 90-year-old or an 80-year-old. Showing young, vibrant people probably will register better that this is something good to do, not when you just get old, but do all your life. And the reason is the people in Siberia live so long. It's not just Siberia, but the Japanese, the Koreans, and the Chinese also are aware of this. But it's very, very commonly used in Siberia, along with Siberian ginseng. But again, it's a type of mushroom that does not look anything like the consistency of a typical mushroom. It's actually, like I showed a picture of it, it looks like tree bark practically, and it's hard like tree bark. And you have to basically have it absorbed in the water and then drink it, and the nutrients get out of the water. But you do not want to superheat it because it will destroy the nutrients. It just has to be absorbed in the water. And some of the best stuff actually available comes from Maine, USA, believe it or not. So typical chaga drinker will live to be 85 to 100 years old. That's in Siberia. But if you look close by, the Inuit Indian, who is a non-chaga drinking person, only lives to be about 50 years old. So, chaga's been actually validated by the Moscow Medical Academy of Science. It hasn't been validated too much by the Western science, and I don't think they looked into it too much. But it has been looked into very much by the Russians. And what the Russians discovered, it says that certain plants will help your body fight the effects of stress and disease. Actually, it's believed that stress is the cause of most disease indirectly. And they found that chaga is one of the most potent adaptogens known. Now, the Russians will also state, well, it was a Soviet secret for 40 years. So it's not even well known today. I mean, it's starting to be sold. Like I'll give you a little tidbit. Not that this is a brand name, but you can buy, if you look up chaga on Amazon, I know they're kind of like getting to be selling everything out here. You can find a lot of sources of it, and also the source from Maine, USA. But in the 1950s, the government of the USSR, with 1,200 scientists, conducted over 3,000 experiments with over 500,000 people to study the effect of chaga, and they found that it will modify the human body's response to stress. So the Soviet government actually ordered athletes, cosmonauts, and other Soviet elite to take adaptogens in the form of Chaga on a daily basis to improve physical and mental capability. And, one of the most important adaptogens was the Chaga itself. They estimate that 80% of all diseases are actually caused by stress. So, if you think this is not something important, it's important. The one thing is, though, you got to look at is the bioavailability, too, of the Chaga itself. Or the nutrients themselves, actually, too. Now, the one that's, I'm not going to mention the name, but I was fairly convinced, and I don't want to make it sound like a commercial, but just from my personal research, I'm fairly convinced that the product that's sold in Maine, USA, is probably superior to the one that's coming from Siberia, and it's about the same cost. And according to them who sell it, it's quite a bit more powerful, quite a bit more potent. So I just want to state this, that if you try it, you might want to get that product. I am not 110% sure about all the claims made by manufacturers, but I'm just putting it forth that Chaga is such a powerful nutrient because, well, it's been proven. I mean, let me put it this way. It contains all these various nutrients from the actual trees, and it contains numerous B vitamins, flavonoids, phenols, minerals, and enzymes that really you can't take in a synthetic pill. It's highly bioavailable, and according to legend going back thousands of years, it's been one of the main secrets to Siberians' longevity, vibrance, and good health for many, many years. So it doesn't look like a typical mushroom, though. It doesn't look like a typical mushroom. But its name is Chaga. And, I think it's worth it just from this aspect. The better quality brands of Chaga contain so much sod, superoxide, oxide, dismutase, that alone, when you buy that supplement in itself, it's very expensive. So if you look at the price of Chaga versus just sod alone, you're not just getting sod in Chaga, you're getting a lot more. Plus the fact that it's a highly powerful dose that's even more than what the typical pills of sod contain, and it's highly bioavailable. That's telling me it's, even though it's not a really cheap thing to take for an herb, it can be quite economical when you start thinking of all the benefits. So I want to pass this on because it's not well known in the United States. It was known as a Russian secret for many decades. It's starting to get well known in the United States. Well, it's starting to get known, not well known. It's definitely not well known. And there's a lot of benefits where it's even claimed to be, I don't want to say this for like a fact because I don't know, what this tests are in the United States, but according to, Asian medicine, it's highly anti-cancer too. That may be true. That may be true. I don't know for a fact. I'm not going to make a claim that it's on anti-cancer, but it's really according to the Siberians, the Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese, that it has a lot of anti-cancer benefits. It kind of makes sense because if you start thinking about everything else it contains. I mean, it contains copper, calcium, potassium, magnesium, zinc, and iron. Yet it contains a lot of this sod, which is very important. And also, it's very good for the skin. Actually, if you rub it on the skin, it will actually help people develop a tan because it contains a lot of the pigment melanin. So if you want, tan artificially, this is probably one of the ways to do it too. I mean, it's got a lot of different uses. So just want to put it out here because it's not well known at all. And I don't know I'm not sure what's out on YouTube or not. I didn't even look, but maybe there's other videos on it, but I never really heard of it. So I actually got this from, originally was alerted to it by people that I know in the alternative health field. And I do work with, even though I'm not a medical professional myself, I work with a lot of people that are medical professionals, real medical professionals. And they've been trying to get a lot more of the quote-unquote alternative health and healing through nutrition adapted in the regular medical, and it's kind of an uphill battle. So It's just the way it is. But anyway, I just figured I'd put this out here because I figured I think it's a really cool thing, and I'm definitely going to try some myself. I know my cousin's been using it too, and she swears by it. She swears by it. So anyway, over and out, and hopefully we'll get these things endorsed by the American AMA, and we can grow our own, get our own Chaga going here in the northern USA, and bring down the cost of medical problems, and have everybody be vibrant and healthy, and even productive, and have a lot of fun and all that type of stuff. So you can go out there in the cold water with all the bikini babes, and in your retirement, in your old age, and because you have been taking lots of Chaga all your life, right?